The Essential Education projector range from Hitachi sponsors ICT programs.
Data handling is one aspect of ICT which pupils seldom enjoy.
Spreadsheets can be quite challenging for students who have a less good grasp of number work. So they see lots and lots of columns of numbers that do magical things that they don't really understand.
And teachers could be forgiven for experiencing that sinking feeling when spreadsheets appear on the timetable.
This is not an easy lesson to teach, quite simply because spreadsheets, they're perceived to be the duller part of ICT. There are lots more sexy, exciting things that they'd prefer to do.
Add in a mixed ability class, some with special needs, and teaching the subject really can be challenging. Matthew Little, an ICT teacher at Parswood School in Manchester, has devised a lesson that aims to cater for mixed ability classes, tries to make the subject relevant to pupils, and engages them with a series of different learning styles.
So I think one of the really exciting things that Parswood have done is they've not been trapped with sitting every child down at a PC right the way through the lesson. They've brought the lesson to life in a number of ways. They've used the whiteboard, and I really like the way they use the kids with the cards, moving things around to really get a sense of shared ownership of building a formula. And that meant that pupils felt really comfortable and confident when they went out to the PCs themselves. I think that's a really strong element of the lesson.
This programme follows Matthew as he delivers a lesson on spreadsheets to a Year 10 class. You can find Matthew's lesson plan and the data he uses on the whiteboard on the Teachers TV website.
Well, the objective of the lesson, first of all, was to understand how to use a spreadsheet to calculate the mean, mode, median and range of a set of data. So we taught them that out of context using our own data, but it was something that they will be able to apply to their own coursework. The mode is the most popular number from that result. The median is the middle when you put them in order from start to end, and the range is the lowest number taken from the highest. Okay? Now, our objectives today is understand how to use a spreadsheet to calculate this. Okay? We found it quite difficult, especially the mean. I don't know the answer to that. I've deliberately set it up that way. And I think you'll find it easier to use a spreadsheet to calculate this data rather than doing it in the old-fashioned way, in your head or even with a calculator. Second objective,
Matthew gives the lesson a focus. He's picked mobile phone bills as a way of making it as relevant as possible to pupils' everyday lives.
Say the word average. We asked 40 people, you won't be able to read this at the back, 40 mobile phone users, were asked about the phone, their network and their usage. So we asked them, who makes it? What's the brand of your phone? What network are you on? Roughly, how many minutes do you use each month? To the nearest 50, how many texts do you send each month? And how much do you spend on your mobile phone each month? Okay, so we're going to use this data to calculate the mean, mode and median.
As soon as you start to mention words like data, analysing, formulas, all those words are quite difficult to engage students with. So the key for this lesson was to present it in such a way that it engaged the students. And I think the teacher did that in a number of ways by using a focus, in this particular lesson, mobile phones that the students could relate to, that they were happy with. And we try and tie the data set into something that's relevant to them before they move on to start to work on their own data set.
Okay, come on in.
Matthew considers it important to get the pupils engaged right at the start of the lesson.
First part of the lesson was to have just a set of data on the board, and it was on the board at the start of the lesson as soon as they came in the door, so that they wouldn't be able to settle down and start doing something else. They would have a task to do straight away while they were waiting for them to log on. All right, Year 10, get yourselves logged on, and while you're waiting for your machine to log on, please just look at the screen on the board, and That's a quick activity for a couple of minutes for you to do. That part of the task was to reinforce some of the maths skills that they would have learnt in Key Stage 3. Because it's quite a long time since they'd done it, they needed to be refreshed as well. Secondly, we needed to go back to previous work that we'd done. So I made a reference to the last couple of lessons' work, just to give the children some confidence about what they were doing. Okay, so this is stuff you've done in maths in Key Stage 3 a couple of years ago. So we do need a bit of a refresher. The mean. We calculate the mean by adding up all those numbers and dividing by how many they are. So how many are there, Ashley?
4, 8, 16. Oh. 4,
Nearly. Try again.
12.
12, well done. Then I got some students to come up and stand at the front, and they all had different parts of a formula on different pieces of paper in their hand. And I got the rest of the class to organise those students. Correct. You've never used the average function before, and yet you still have managed as a group to put all those together because it's very similar to the sum function. So it's not actually that difficult. That was used as a visual reference point for them for further on in the lesson. So it's something that I could refer to, something that they could look over, and it was stuck up on the wall. I then needed to demonstrate how we were going to complete the task that I'd set. And even though I've got an interactive whiteboard, I used a student to help me demonstrate because that would motivate that particular student. And it will allow me to give him the opportunity to fill stuff in on the board and ask other students to see if he was doing it correctly. Again, that's self-assessment for them. Joe, could you scroll across and find the median one? Median. Scroll up. What is the median number of minutes used? Do you want to have a go at filling that in for us? You all watch him and see if you think he is typing the right thing in. We went through some of the task ourselves as a group. I didn't let them do the whole thing themselves. We did a few answers to give the students confidence, to give them an example, to show them how to test it and give them a reason for doing it. We are going to, well, you tell me, Ryan, what do you think we're going to do with this data?
To find the mean, mode and median and range.
Well done, yeah. There was 2 tasks. First one being the mobile phone survey data. I used that because I thought it would be more relevant to them. They would understand where that data would come from and how we might collect that data. Lewis is going to have a guess and he's going to tell us what we want to do if we want to work out the median of this data here. He's got a piece of paper with what written on it? Median. Right. Do you want to have a go, Lewis? Ashley, is he right? Do you think he's right? Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's done exactly the right thing.
With a mixed ability class, having a range of extension tasks immediately to hand is vital.
The extension task looked very similar to the first one, but it had slightly less help available. So the students would have to apply their knowledge without me giving them answers and without me giving them tips that they've learnt in the first task to the extension task. This worksheet is on the J drive. It is called Mobile Phone Survey. I won't write that down. Mobile phone survey. There's another sheet if you finish. I think we can say we'll do that in 20 minutes, okay? See if you can do that one in 20 minutes. Another one if you finish, okay?
The teacher had lots of extension material which he could have used with students if they finished early. And I think that's very, very important to have, particularly when you go say, OK, go back to your computers, now have a go at this. You've always got to be ready for the student that finishes early, have something else. If you don't, again, you will lose their interest very, very quickly.
And getting pupils to understand why spreadsheets are so useful is also critical to the lesson's success.
At the end, the second objective was to discuss why we'd use a spreadsheet to do it. It's not an easy thing to do, it's not an easy thing to learn. One simple character wrong in a formula will make it not work. It can be frustrating for students. So we need to understand the benefits of actually doing it that way. So I asked half the class to do it the old-fashioned method, using a calculator, and half the class to do a task using the skills that we've learned in the lesson. We proved at the end of it that there were benefits to using the spreadsheet. And by asking those questions at the end to reinforce that learning, then the students proved to me that they did understand that. What is the mean number of minutes used? There's 40 cells of data there. So it would take you quite a long time to do that with a calculator. Or if you didn't even have a calculator, it'd take you even longer if you were to do it by pen and paper. So we are going to get the spreadsheet to do it for us.
It was a Key Stage 4 lesson, a Year 10 lesson. First of all, it reminded students of the basics within spreadsheets, how you would formulate a formula, if you like, how you put a formula together, the key functions within a spreadsheet, so we would have also looked at keywords, how to actually use a spreadsheet, and most importantly, to put it into a context with some data, what you'd use a spreadsheet for, when it's appropriate to use it, and that was the focus of the lesson. It would have led on to a second lesson in which students would have looked at how they would use the data set that they were actually given on their GCSE course.
What advice would staff at Parswood pass on to other teachers to help tackle this challenging area of the subject?
I think you need to know any software package absolutely inside out, because the students don't like a teacher who's not confident with their subject, and it can be quite embarrassing if they ask you a question and you don't know it, so it's good to know it inside out. I'm teaching it for a few years and having used spreadsheets in industry as well, I find that I've got the experience for that. You'd need to refer to past work. The link to the Key Stage 3 maths work was key. This is something that students have done before, so you've got to give them confidence that they're going to be able to do it again, just in a slightly different context.
If you are doing coursework at GCSE, it makes it very difficult if the students are doing their actual live piece of coursework and learning the skills for the first time. In today's lesson, what they've had is a chance to learn the skills, take them away and apply them to their coursework. Then each student can go away and work to the best of their ability, taking away pre-existing skills.
Can anyone suggest to me what the benefits are of using the spreadsheet to do this rather than doing it at heads, rather than doing it in a calculator, rather than doing it on paper? Hands up if you know the answer.
When you're teaching students with a wide range of ability, both in mathematics and ICT, the key is to try and engage them at lots of different levels. So using the whiteboard for the visual learners, using the ability of moving students around for those who actually like doing stuff, and being able to create the collaborative working environment meant that the less confident pupils were going to be much more enabled and facilitated when they went onto the computers themselves.
This lesson fits a number of courses. It can be used in GCSE, GNVQ and DIDA curricula, and it can be adapted for various age ranges. Staff at Parswood have found that it requires no specialised resources.
We don't particularly buy in resources, and we don't spend an excessive amount of time sat at home creating them. The lesson that you've seen today would be an average lesson in the ICT faculty for an introduction to spreadsheets. This lesson could be adapted to any particular year group. As a teacher, what you would adjust would be your level of questioning, and perhaps to some extent as well some of the formulas that Matt introduced in the lesson today. But I'm quite confident I would teach this lesson to any year group.
In this lesson we had something on the board for them to do when they came in. We had an activity which involved students standing up. We then had a main activity or two which involved the students working at the computer. We then had another activity at the end. In the past, I perhaps wouldn't have put as many activities into it, but I now know that students need a range of activities to keep them going.
Don't forget that Matthew's lesson plans and his presentation data can be found on the Teachers TV website.
Essential education projectors from Hitachi sponsor ICT programs.